Perfect. Welcome back to another episode of Just Because Live. My name is Chris Nicolason. I'm over here at Springs Law Group right now, and today I am honored to be joined with Paige Dubman from The Place, a local nonprofit here in Colorado Springs. So, Paige, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on today. So, Paige, normally what I like to do, and I want to do this with you today, is I want to talk about you for just a little bit, find out, where you're from, get your background. And then I want to talk about The Place because you guys have some great stuff coming up. And I think you guys are doing some great things here in Colorado Springs as well. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from and how did you end up getting all the way out here to Colorado Springs?
So I'm from St. Louis originally, and I ended up moving to Austin, Texas about 3 years ago, working at a brewery out of Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was there, met a lot of runners, so I started running. And through that, I found a nonprofit called Back on My Feet that would combat homelessness with running. So after doing that, I found out that's kind of where my passion was lying. And I got lucky enough to find this position at The Place and moved out to Colorado Springs.
Very cool. We've got my good friend, Don McClure, who's an attorney out in Houston, saying hello. And I also know them too, because he's from Texas. He is
Awesome.
a big fan of Austin.
Yeah.
And so I got to ask then, being from St. Louis, we do have some friends, Don and I do, that are from St. Louis. So we'll give a shout out here to Jim and Tyson. But are you a Cardinals fan?
The biggest fan.
Really?
But that's probably everyone from St. Louis. So.
Gotcha. and then going out to Austin after that. And then, so what kind of runner are you, or did you end up becoming?
I don't know. I guess maybe we could say mid-distance.
Okay.
I would like to do a marathon, but I don't know if I have that in me. I've only made it to a half marathon. So
okay. Gotcha. I remember my old boss once, because he was a runner, and he'd get up early in the morning and he would just go running up in Woodland Park. And one day he goes, yeah, and he was late to work one time, and he's like, I was going to run 3 miles this morning, but ended up running 14. You end up going from like 3 to 14, or you just kind of sticking in a certain range?
I plan to do 3, and we'll do 1.5. So
okay, gotcha.
I'm not like that.
That makes sense. Absolutely. And so then you end up working at that nonprofit. And what was it about working in a nonprofit that you really enjoyed?
I loved the culture so much. It's very positive atmosphere, and just all of the networking you can do is really great. And I feel like it's such a good way to be tied to the local community you're in. I feel like we all have a mission to give back, and that was just really huge for me, and just kind of got hooked.
Nice. I love it. I love too, because you hit on one of my favorite buzzwords, which is culture. And I think it's so it's something that you can't really you can't quantify, right? I can't pay somebody in culture, but it's almost where it's I take less money to work at a place that's got an awesome culture versus taking a lot of money to work at a place where the culture is just
exactly.
Yeah. And then so talk then too about how you ended up finding The Place, and then about how long you've been here.
So I found The Place online, actually. I was searching specifically for nonprofits that would help people experiencing homelessness, and felt very fortunate when I saw that they had a position open in development, because that's what my internship was at the previous nonprofit. So yeah, so that's how I found that one. And then started a little over a month ago, and that's when I moved here also.
Okay, so you're new here to the Springs then, huh?
Very new, yes.
And so coming from big old Austin, how are you liking it here in Colorado Springs so far?
It's my favorite place I've ever lived.
Really? Oh, that's awesome. Yes. That's awesome. And are you going to become a Rockies fan now?
No.
Okay, that will not happen. No way. Gotcha.
Non-negotiable.
Okay, I completely understand that. And so then let's talk now. So then you come on up here because you got the job at The Place. So can you talk to some people maybe that are watching that haven't heard of what The Place is, what you guys do? Can you just talk broadly about what all you guys do there?
Absolutely. So we are a local nonprofit, and we have a three-part system. We've got a shelter, an outreach program, and a housing program. And what we do with those is we serve youth in the area from ages 15 to 24. So whether they are currently experiencing homelessness, they're couch surfing, you know, they kind of see anything coming up along that vein, like we just help them out and help them get on the path that they're most interested in.
Nice. Okay. And so then with that, in regards to like homelessness and things like that, and we've got the winter months coming now soon too. Do you guys see, a fluctuation in number of people contacting you in regards to that?
So usually over the winter months, we are full. With COVID, it sort of has skewed things a little bit because I think sometimes there is that fear of being in a closed space.
Yeah.
But as far as the number of youth we're still working with, the numbers are about the same since we do have that outreach program and housing as well.
Gotcha. And then can you talk then too, so if I'm a youth that's, that's either couch surfing like you were talking about or homeless and needing to get in, like what's the process to actually get things started?
So we are 100% voluntary. So if a youth would come to the shelter, we have intake forms, process that they go through immediately. And with that, a lot of it does have to do with the age groups they are in. If they are a minor, we have to have consent of the parents. And if they are 18 or older, then it is entirely up to them.
Okay. And can those forms, are they filled out at the place or are they filled out online or?
Oh, I'm sorry. They're filled out at the place whenever the youth enters the shelter.
Okay, gotcha. And then where are you guys located locally?
We're on Cucheras, downtown. That's where our shelter is. And then we also partner with all the YMCAs and the Pikes Peak libraries.
Oh, nice.
So we have those, yes. It's been a wonderful partnership. We use them as safe places. So if a youth would go to one of those and say that they need a safe place, then we would have someone come and meet them there.
Oh, that's amazing. Great. So then one of the things I've noticed as I've talked to people that work in nonprofits is that and we were talking about that off air before we got started. And when there's like a passion that comes from doing what you do that just exudes when you not only talk, but also like even within your presence. So where does that come from, that need or kind of that want or desire to kind of go out there and help people?
I think it's just, I think everyone has some connection to it in one way or another. Mm-hmm. For me specifically, I have this feeling that we all ourselves, or either we know someone who is just one life change away from experiencing homelessness. Right. And I think just having that empathy and understanding of that is extremely important. And the earlier you help someone, the sooner they can get back on their path.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I'm going to share too in our comment section your guys's website, just so everybody can take a look at that is watching. And then I want to know then, because last week I had on the community director from the Humane Society, and we're talking about obviously displaced animals, in that sense, and the one thing I asked her though is through the years that she's worked there, she's had multiple stories of, certain cats and dogs that she's fallen in love with, right? And then yourself even working, not even, and obviously you're newer to the place itself, but also within the other nonprofits that you've worked, are there any stories that kind of stick out to you that you're like, this thing will stick with me and this is something that, I just will remember for the rest of my life?
Absolutely. Actually, it's from the place. Okay. And I'll call her Emma.
Yeah.
So Emma had been sort of in and out with us at the shelter, and it was a little sporadic. And her father suffered from alcohol abuse. Okay. And eventually the strain was tough enough that her father actually took a gun and shot at her.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. So once that happened, she made the decision, I'm absolutely going to the place, you know, came to us, talked about the track she wants to get on. You know, she wanted to do a working path. So our case managers worked with her on that, developed a plan and everything. At first she tried fast food, decided it wasn't really for her. And then she heard about becoming a certified nursing assistant.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she entered that program, completed it, and got a job at a nursing home, which you know, everyone knows takes a very special person to be able to do that kind of work.
Absolutely.
And when she did that, she was able to save enough money for a security deposit and got her own place. And wow, that is the mission. You know, it's so much more than a roof over your head. It's understanding that these youth have so much potential, and you have to not only make sure they have a place to stay, but show them that path to self-sufficiency. You know, sometimes they just need a hand with that. So the work is so important because it's multifaceted.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because as I've, in the past too, one of the things that I'm learning as I'm talking to more and more nonprofits is that it's not just like this box of this one nonprofit and here we are housed together, right? Because you talk about, like, you know, there's a team that goes together that we, you know, to help the youth here in this case. And so are there other nonprofits that you guys kind of work with or kind of like use as referrals out there that you guys will kind of help to help the children kind of, you know, or the youth, you know, find the right place and find the right fit?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, the YMCA has been great as far as helping us with the safe places. We also work with partners in housing. Since we do only serve youth ages 15 to 24, whenever we run into anybody who might be aging out of housing, that's when we would work with them to make sure they still have that right path.
Right, right. Oh, that's awesome. And so then you guys work with, as a lawyer here, do you guys ever have to work with attorneys at all in regards to maybe issues that are coming, you know, as to why people are coming out there or things like that?
Not so much why they come to us.
Yeah.
But occasionally we do have some instances where there are some court cases on any kind of minor violations or anything like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Very, very cool. And then, so then tell me then now with what you do day in and day out. So what does a day in the life of your job look like?
It varies.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I get opportunities like this where I, you know, get to spread the word of the place, and that's a lot of fun. And then there's a really big fundraising aspect to it, meeting with donors one-on-one. And another part that we're doing, which is super fun, is we're working on our night out event right now.
Perfect. And that's the best segue ever there. Okay. So let's chat about that for a minute. You and I talked a minute ago, and I know that last year we donated to the night out, because I have some attorney friends in town that actually participated in the night out. So can you explain? And the night, when I think of the term night out, I'm like, it's like going out to a restaurant and grabbing, you know, dinner and drinks. So
right.
Tell us all what the night out actually is for the place.
So it is a little different than that, but very much so an experiential project. What we do is we invite people to sign up as sleepers, and they will come out the night of November 19th, sleep outside through the duration of that evening and the morning of the 20th.
Okay.
And during that time, you can have a sleeping bag, you can have blankets. We don't allow tent. And the whole purpose of this is to really understand that experience that a youth has any given night, to see where they're coming from. And we treat it sort of like a walkathon. So each sleeper has their own personal fundraiser, and all that money goes directly to the place. Okay.
And so with that, then if it's like a walkathon, then there's usually a competition between people to raise money, things like that. You know, so kind of where can people like see how everyone's doing so far?
So if you go to our website, theplececos.org/night-out-2020, it'll take you directly to our event page. And then if you click that you want to donate or participate, that will take you to the actual fundraising page.
Interesting. So right now it says too that you guys are asking your participants to raise a total of $30,000. Can you talk then too for a minute, like how important that fundraising money is for the place and what it's used for?
Absolutely. So we have different increments on there, which are super helpful if anyone wants to look at them. But an example is $104 will house one youth for one day at the shelter. This is including everything like 3 meals a day, blankets, the utilities to run the shelter, everything like that comes into consideration. You could do $63 and that's a bus pass for a month. And then $38 would be a GED test. So no matter what, I love to stress that no amount is too small. Anything is helpful, especially when you consider that it's a youth's life that you're changing.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, and I got on here that it's $104 provides one night of shelter support for one youth. $520 provides 5 nights of shelter support for one youth. And then $2,079 provides one night of shelter support at full capacity.
Yes.
And so what does that mean?
Sorry. Full capacity for us, we have a 20-bed shelter. So that would have everyone filling one of the bunks. So.
Okay, gotcha. And then has that capacity actually changed due to COVID, or did you guys have enough space to actually still be able to accommodate?
That's a great question. We are very fortunate to have had enough space to accommodate that. If you even go into our shelter and look at our dining hall, we have appropriate 6-foot social distancing spacing set out everywhere. So we've been, again, fortunate that we can do all of that and have the same capacity.
So then one of the things you mentioned too at the very beginning of the show was the idea of culture, right? So at the place in Austin, you're like, this place has a great culture. Can you talk to me about the culture at the place?
Yes, we've actually been talking about it within, so internally, but it's just ultimately we all have that mission, vision of helping each youth reach their full potential. So while there's so many different jobs, we have case managers, we have our administrative staff, housing, development. It's that understanding that we all have the same goal to help put everyone on this track to self-sufficiency. And just personally, I feel like our culture is so understanding of one another. I love how much each role intertwines with the other. We work together, and it's just a really, really positive place to be.
Nice. And so then how many people, and maybe you know or don't know this too, how many people are actually working or work at the place versus volunteers?
We have about 30 employees.
Okay.
Right now.
Gotcha. Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
And then so I do know too that obviously it does, the catchphrase or the line now, it takes a village. And so can you kind of then talk about the different roles then at the place? You've mentioned case manager and things like that. So what are kind of some of those other roles there?
Yeah. So the case managers, we have our direct care staff. They're at the shelter. We always have someone there all hours of the day. We have at least 2 people. Okay. We also have our outreach team. And what they're doing is they're going out on the streets every day, meeting with youth. This past year, they met just over 500 youth on the streets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's just, building that rapport and that trust with the youth. It's not necessarily getting them to come to the shelter the first day. It's letting them know that there are options. And and then we have our development team that works with the fundraising, and we have our administrative team, HR, and we also have our board and the development committee on top of that too.
Excellent. And so and you mentioned something there too, because my 2 daughters are older now. My partner has, some teenagers, things like that. So teenagers alone, in just any setting, kind of are trying to figure out their place, where they fit.
Right.
And so when you talked about even like the idea of, and this is something that I wouldn't even think about, but outreach, going out there and talking to them, it's not as simple as just saying, hey, come on, we got a place for you over here. There has to be, so can you talk about even that relationship building? I'm guessing that not only happens just to get them in, but also that has to keep on going forward as they're there.
Oh, absolutely. And it is part of, you know, why we do have the amount of staff that we do, you know, because everyone is working together to make sure that each youth understands, you know, we are here to help, but we're not going to dictate everything that you do. You know, there are rules, obviously, but we do want some input from the youth. So that relationship building has been super important. And, you know, the outreach team knows the youth that are actually out on the streets just as well as our direct care staff in the shelter knows those youth. So, you know, it's every role is just so important.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I used to be a teacher before doing this. And one of the things I always, you know, it always seemed kind of counterintuitive because like where kiddos, they want their freedom, but at the same time, I actually think too that they're like, there's moments where they're actually crying out for structure. Right. And they just, you know, and as much as it doesn't, even though they may fight against it, they actually want that structure and kind of normalcy, you know what I mean? And some rules in place that can kind of help set certain things up.
Yeah.
So for you guys, do you guys have any like certain rules or non-negotiables as you're there that must be followed?
Absolutely. You know, every time the youth comes in, we do the intake. There is drug testing, you know, THC in the system is okay, but we can't have anything else. And there is, you know, zero toleration of any usage on site. And then with that, one of the things that we're really big on is we have chores each day, and that's just to kind of build these life skills and accountability for the youth. So they do that. We also have an education and employment system in place. So the youth have structure with that, understanding how to fill out an application, how to interview. You know, if you want to go on a date Saturday night and you're scheduled to work, you don't just not show up. You see if maybe someone will switch shifts.
Yes, absolutely.
There is a lot of structure within the shelter just because, you know, you're not helping anyone if you're not showing them these life skills.
Right. So. Absolutely. Very, very interesting. And so then for you guys then too, so as they kind of as they transition out of the path, you know, or out of, you know, down that path, you know, and leave the place, do you guys have like follow up with them after that or anything else that kind of happens? Is there any sort of like protocol afterwards?
Once they exit the program, which is entirely voluntary, that is up to them if, you know, they want to come back. We have situations where, you know, we'll hold on to mail for quite a while in case people do come back and check in. And we have found that a pretty large population of the people who have had success with our program do check back in, and, you know, they're so appreciative and like to tell everyone, you know, they like to give these updates. So
right. Absolutely. And so then too, for you guys, so it shows me here too on your guys's, on your website that you guys have, it looks like it's 2 major events. And so you've got the Night Out Project coming up the 19th to the 20th. And then you have another big event too called Off the Street. And so what is that?
So with Off the Street, what we've done in the past, we weren't able to this previous year because of COVID, but we set up tables underneath the Colorado Bridge. We have speaker, breakfast, and we have donors and team captains come in. The team captains will kind of choose who sits at their table and who they invite. And then we have a speaker, and it's just a pretty decent sized fundraiser for us, but it's really neat because you can even hear the train going by, and it's just another one of those, you know, it's about the experience, you know. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you guys are doing. That's absolutely amazing. And so then if I'm somebody that's watching this going, man, I really want to get involved and help out, how do people go about actually volunteering at the place?
So we have a volunteer manager, actually. Her name is Sarah Barsky. She is fantastic.
Nice.
So if you call us, shoot an email, she'll be in touch. We have a really big need for volunteers in our kitchen right now, actually.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we have had some trouble with other volunteer positions because of COVID, but that is one place where we can use help still.
So within the kitchen, especially with the holidays coming up, is that similar to like what I've seen in the past at like soup kitchens or things like that, where either like people, like teams could come in and actually volunteer for the piece or for the place, and then churches or what have you could come in and do things like that?
Absolutely. And we encourage that. Comfortably, we can fit about 3 people in the kitchen.
Okay.
And then we do an orientation for all the volunteers. So we could do a group orientation. That's great. It's really fun. And I think the organizations that do it as a team actually really enjoy that.
Nice. Oh, that's very, very cool. Okay. And then are there certain, is it to work in the kitchen just for like a dinner time, or is it just actually for each of the meals where volunteers will be needed?
Each of the meals.
Okay.
You don't have to do all 3.
Right.
We do have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, you know, that's 21 meals a week available where we would need people to help out.
Absolutely. Oh, that is awesome. Well, Paige, time's getting close here to our 30-minute mark. And so what I want to do is start winding down a little bit. I appreciate you coming on and talking about the place, talking about the night out. Like I said, I have some friends of mine that I know that are participating in it, and you guys do some amazing things here. And so, again, this year for us, we're gonna end up doing a matching contribution for one of my friends who's actually sleeping outside and doing that. So
thank you.
So we appreciate you guys and all that you guys do, and keep doing what you're doing. And we're big fans of you all. And so for yourself, as being somebody that's fairly new here in Colorado Springs, the first question I like to ask my guests is, what is your favorite place? And I'll use this so far in your month here in Colorado.
I think Hillside Gardens.
Okay. And can you explain Hillside Gardens? Because I've actually lived here 15 years, and I don't know if I've ever been there.
Oh, it was so neat. I went my 2nd week here. I think it may have been the last week they were doing it for the season.
Okay.
But it's just a really neat outdoor area, sort of like a garden, but there's also some artwork, sculptures. And on Wednesdays, they had live music. So for $10, you could get in and go listen to the music. They had a little place you could get drinks. I think they normally have a food truck, but they didn't that night.
Okay.
But it's really cool.
Excellent. I will absolutely check that out. And then my next question for you is, if you were not doing this, working at the place, what would your dream job be?
Do I have to be good at it?
You don't. It can be anything.
Okay. Probably just a classical pianist.
Really? Interesting. Do you play piano right now?
I do, yes.
You do? Oh, that is exciting.
But not well enough to make it as a professional.
Interesting. And how long have you played?
25-ish years, I think.
Oh, very cool. Oh, wow. Dang. Yeah. I mean, for myself, I recently just started taking mandolin lessons, and it's been
oh, that's cool.
Very interesting, but I've never played an instrument ever before. And so my wife, who does play piano, is like listening in the background going, holy camole. So, yeah. But it's been
that's so neat.
Okay, I'm going to put up that is very cool. I'm going to put up a ticker right now for contact info for you guys. So if you can, as that thing's running, tell people how and where they can find you guys and get in contact with you all, that would be appreciated too.
Absolutely. So we are at East Cucharas, and we also have an office downtown at the old Lowell School. So you can contact us there. Contact us by phone number, email. Should I give my email address? I don't know.
I think they can find you too on the website as well. Too. Okay. There is a contact us actually right there on the webpage as well too. So I think that'd be perfect. So yeah. So and then so we appreciate you coming on. Can you give us the dates one last time for the night out?
Yes, November 19th through the 20th, and everyone has until Monday to sign up. So
excellent. And how long will you guys take donations for it then?
We will take donations through the event, actually.
Excellent. Oh, that's great.
Yes.
So Paige Dubman, thank you very much for coming on to Just Because Live. We appreciate chatting with you and wish you guys all the best over at the place.
Thank you so much, Christopher.
Thank you so much. Bye now.